Somebody sent me this meme. It's a quote from Annie Besant, who was a suffragette. She was quite involved in home rule in India back at the turn of the century kind of thing. Home rule for Ireland. So, a great person. The quote, well, you'll hear. So the quote says, "Were everything around us smooth and easy, we would remain supine, lethargic, indifferent. It's the whip of pain, of suffering, of disappointment that drives us onward and brings out the forces of our internal life, which otherwise would remain undeveloped." So the person who sent me this said, "Hi John, when I see quotes like this, I just get a bit annoyed. We don't have to suffer." An exclamation mark. "Something inside me thinks with awareness comes the ability to transcend any suffering. You don't have to suffer to grow. Always love your thoughts on the matter. Hope you're well. Green Ireland looks magnificent in your YouTube clips. Balm for the soul." So yeah, I think it sort of reminds me of the C.S. Lewis quote, about that God is this big sculptor and we're like stones, and the blows of his hammer, while they hurt us so much, they make us perfect. And it's basically an old idea, but it's one that's still perpetuated. Like the whole idea of no pain, no gain. That's a big thing, and it's so popular, so prevalent, and a feeling of like we have to work for everything. So here's how I see it. If you think of time being like a train, okay, and each carriage contains pain, and we have lots and lots of pain, and then we have an insight, and we look back along the train and go, well, it's full of pain, so the pain must have given me the insight, which I have found not to be the case. So if we come around to the side of the train, we see that there are individual carriages. It's not continuous pain, individual carriages with the break, with the gap between each carriage. And in my observation in myself and in other people, and you can check this yourself, we have pain, 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 pain. It gets excruciating, it gets so much, we builds up, we can't tolerate it anymore, and then something breaks. We break. We collapse. We go, that's it. I can't fight anymore. I'm on the floor here. I'm broken. Okay? And then an incredible kind of stillness comes in, where there's no more fight, there's no more action, we're just on the floor. And then the insight comes in the stillness. And because our mind is involved, then we look along the train and go, oh, the pain led to the insight, but it didn't. What the pain led to was breaking. We break, and then we drop everything, and in the stillness, in that gap, that's where the insight comes from. So you don't need all the pain if you can just get to the gap, get to the stillness. That's kind of why everyone goes on about meditation, me included, because you can avoid so much pain. The other thing is, I draw a distinction between pain and suffering, because the sort of carriages are actually just full of suffering, okay? There is a certain amount of pain in the spiritual life. Of course, when you're letting go of unconsciousness, when consciousness is transforming, it can be painful. It's kind of painful in the way that if you spent the whole night clenching your fist, all night clenching your fist, 8 hours, when you went to unclench it in the morning, it would hurt. And we're a bit like that with pain. When we are letting go of something, when the unconsciousness is releasing, it's like that, it's painful, okay? Which is different to suffering. Suffering loops. You know, it just goes round and around and around. And it builds in pressure, you know. Have you noticed the cycles that we go through in our lives, certainly in my life, in your life, where, you know, you have a difficult relationship and then you know, work it out, and then you have another one and it's worse, and then you have another one and it's worse again, and it just gets worse and worse. The pressure builds and builds and builds and builds, a bit like the wind. And then you break. You're just like, I don't get it. What's going on? I can't seem to work out this relationship thing. And you're on the floor in the stillness of you're just staring at the wall, like, because you've tried everything. And then in that stillness, the insight comes. So the loop is suffering. And suffering you can avoid, you know. It's relatively easy to avoid suffering. Pain, you can't avoid it. So when it's pain, when it's new, all you can do is go through it. But suffering, you can avoid. And one of the ways you avoid suffering is not to glorify it. Not to go, oh, well, I'm not in a lot of pain. I mustn't be learning anything here. That's not true at all. That's not the way it works. And you'll notice that people who really believe in pain and that they can't grow unless they're in pain, they usually suffer a lot, because that's what they believe is what's supposed to happen. So that's what happens. So yeah, I mean, Annie, C.S. Lewis, you know, they're of their time, and you know, we've moved along. So you don't need to suffer. And the more still you become, and the more you focus on stillness, the less suffering you have to do. Still painful. Pain still is there. It's not like you get away with it, but you're not glorifying it. You're not looking for it. Because, like, pain is awful. No one would want to be in pain if they could avoid it. So, like, anything... like I'm not even saying like the pain that comes when you're transforming on consciousness is good pain. It's not. It's awful. If you ever had to let go of anything, you know, that you held on to very dearly, it hurts. Hurts a lot, and it's no fun, and it's not good pain or anything like that. I don't think there is good pain. I think it's just pain, suffering, awful, and then you get through it. So yes, focus on the stillness. It's very efficient, you know. You're getting right to the gap between the carriages of suffering. You get right to the gap, and then you get the insight with minimal pain, minimal or no suffering, if you can at all, which is what I want for me and for everybody, and I'm sure you do too.